We have existed on these lands for more than 10,000 years before colonization, and the Creator put our people on this land to care for this land, to live in peace and harmony with it and everything on it. And I would just like to acknowledge the indigenous people who do just that. Our ancestors who did that, and our people today who are still trying to achieve peace and balance in this land. So today we're just going to open up our program. I would like to dedicate this program to our Powys, Clifford, Lionheart, Praying Heart guy who just crossed over. We just finished our 3-day ceremonial fire for him, and I would like to dedicate everything that we do to him today. So we're going to start off with our drum, and then someone from the drum will come up and explain to you what they did, and we will have a wonderful time with all of you today. Thank you. And I am Pokanoket, Dancing Star. Thank you.
Thank you for the earth and sky. Thank you for the water and the rock. Thank you for the trees and just for today. For spirit, I thank you. For spirit, I thank you. Hey, 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 oh. Thank you for the earth and sky. Thank you for the water and the rock. Thank you for the trees just for today. For spirit, I thank you. For spirit, I thank you. Hey, 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 now.
Whenever we do our drumming, first we tray it in with tobacco, and then we say our prayers. And the song we just did right now, we always start, it's a praying song. And we're thanking Mother Earth and the Creator. And we do this on all our songs. Most of the songs are prayers to the Creator. And this is how we start, and we finish with another praying song.
And he's going to give you a prayer in our language, and he'll interpret that prayer for you.
Aho! Aho! I'm Harry Hawk Edmonds. I'm sachem of the Pokanoket tribal nation. And I want to welcome you all here today for this cultural event. After the King Philip's War of 1675-1676, my ancestors were deprived from speaking their language. We had to assimilate and adapt the ways of the settlers in order to survive. So our language was taken from us. So I'd like to offer this ceremonial tobacco offering to this gathering today, and thank the Creator for bringing us all together to share in this cultural event of my people. I will also offer this sacred tobacco offering in the English language, so you'll understand what I've said and communicate it to you. This sacred tobacco offering is all about honor and respect, which is the native way. We honored just about everything, especially our Mother Earth. In today's world, folks, honor and respect is somewhat lost, and we have to try and get it back. We have to start honoring and respecting one another again. Mother Earth is very unhappy with what's happening to her, and she's showing it. So I will begin. This is called Nepitan. I pray. Katantawit, Numagni, O Witamog. Aki Numagni, O Witamog. Okamus. Nupashad Numagni, O Witamog. Owuchichi, Kiriasan. Nupawas. Numagni, O Witamog. Tubatni Anawain. Numagni, Witamog. Ot you uk. Nashikaki. Wampanayu. Sowanayu. Patanayu. Nanamayu. Tabatni Anawain. Nuwachi, Wami. Nitam Pog. Neg Pamaninacheg. Neg Pamambachig. Papinashim Wag. Medakakwash Maskitosh. Nemosag. Akwitianamuk. We Chin Inamacheg. Atuk. Musk. Makwashim. Tunapasag. Sasaso. And Wudagash. Katantawit. Numagni. Awitamog. Oh. Great Spirit, I offer this tobacco. Mother Earth, I offer this tobacco. Grandmother Moon, I offer this tobacco. Grandfather's Son, I offer this tobacco. I thank you. I offer this tobacco to the four directions, to the east, to the south, to the west, to the north. I thank you for all my relations, the winged nation, the creeping, crawling nation, the four-legged nation, the green and growing nation, and all things living in the water. Honoring the clans, the deer, the bear, the wolf, the turtle, the snipe, and the rabbit. Great Spirit, I offer this tobacco. Ahu.
Oh.
I thank you. Katabatash. Let's enjoy the day and our culture. Ahu.
Many, many moons ago, everyone lived up in the sky, and below there was just water where all the water creatures lived. But one day, the Sky Queen, she went over to the Tree of Life and she pulled it up. She was shaking it and it came up out of the ground and it created a big hole in the sky. And so she went and she looked. And when she did, she fell. And all of the water creatures, they looked up and they said, "Oh my, look, a star is falling. Oh no, it is Sky Queen. What shall we do?" So two swans, they swam together and they caught the Sky Queen on their back. But she was so heavy. And they said, "Oh, she's so heavy. Well, we can't hold her forever. What shall we do?" And so the great turtle, he swam up from beneath and he said, "Oh, I know what to do. I have an idea. You can put her on my back. I can hold her. But first, I'm going to need a little help. I'm going to need for each of you to go down and to get some earth and to put it on my back." And so all the water creatures, they swam down and they got a handful of earth and they came up and they placed it on the turtle's back. And the earth grew to the east, to the west, to the north, and to the south. And by, the turtle was holding the entire earth on his back. Now, every so often, the turtle, he gets a little tired of holding this great big earth of ours on his back. And so he gives himself a little stretch. And the whole earth shakes. And I know you guys think that's an earthquake. That's what you call it. But my people, we know It's just the turtle getting tired of holding up this great big earth of ours on his back. And so by and by, they got the Sky Queen, and they put the Sky Queen upon the earth. Now the Sky Queen, she had 2 children. One was very, very good, and the other was very, very bad. Every time the good son would do something, the bad son would do something to mess it up. The good son would make a bright, beautiful, sunny day, kind of like we have today. But the bad son, he would cause it to hail and to storm, to thunder and to lightning. The good son made a beautiful meadow. He put the berries in it for us to eat. But the bad son, he put the prickers and bullbriars in it. Ah, that poor old woman, always trying to separate the good from the bad. Well, by and by, she grew really old, and she died. And they got her body, and they buried it in the earth. And do you know that from her body started to grow the potatoes and all the food, all the things that take care of her children? And do you know that Mother Earth is still taking good care of her children, right? So we have to take good care of Mother Earth, right? We have to take good care of Mother Earth. So I want you to remember that and spoke about that. We've got to take care of Mother Earth. We've got to restore balance. And I want you to remember, I want everyone to remember this. What you do to Mother Earth, you do to yourself. Okay? What you do to Mother Earth, you do to yourself. So if you pollute Mother Earth, you're polluting yourself. If you're not taking care of the water, you're not taking care of yourself. Right? What you take from Mother Earth, you need to put back into Mother Earth. That's called balance. So that's really important, and I want to leave that with you today. So now, I just told you about how we all got here. But now, Sagamore, the Sagamore of our nation, of our tribe, Powampi Nampog, Dr. William Guy, is going to come up, and he's going to tell you more about our people and about our tribe, because you might not know so much about the Pokanoket, and you might wonder why you don't know so much about the Pokanoket, but Sagamore, Winds of Thunder, is going to enlighten you a little bit. Come on up.
Thank you. I am the Sagamore of the Council 7 Royal House of the Pokanoket Tribe, the Pokanoket Nation. And I would like to say Kwalakwakwa, Wani, which is good afternoon in our language. I am the 10th generation great-grandson of the Massasoit Osamequin, who welcomed the Pilgrims to this country. Excuse me. Osamequin was his name. Massasoit is a title. It means great leader. He was a great leader of one of the larger Indian nations in colonial America. There was over 60 tribe, bands, and clans in the Pokanoket Nation when the Pilgrims came to this land. I am the 9th generation great-grandson of Po-Metacom, or Metacomet, or Metacom. You know him historically as King Philip of the King Philip Wars. I am the 6th generation great-grandson of Simeon Simon. And Simeon Simon was George Washington's hand-picked bodyguard. He received a pension from the United States government as a Continental soldier. He served throughout the Revolutionary War, and then he went to live with George Washington for 2 years before returning to Connecticut, which is where he lived in Griswold, Connecticut. You see the pension as a colonial soldier, and there's a portrait of Simeon Simons and my great-grandfather Simeon Simon in the Griswold Town Hall. It was in the New London Town Hall, but they moved it to his hometown. This portrait, Simeon is also on the bicentennial coin of the town of Griswold, Connecticut. I have that. That's right there. The bicentennial coin has a seal of Griswold on one side, and on the other side is George Washington and Simeon Simon riding horseback side by side. The reason why I tell you about Simeon Simon is because that is King Philip's great-grandson. That's my 6th generation great-grandfather. That's my line coming down. When the Pilgrims came to this country, they were not coming to Plymouth. They actually started out in Cape Cod down in Provincetown. They had missed their mark. I believe they were supposed to be going to New York. And they missed their mark. They ended up down here in Provincetown. And they couldn't land there because the Norset Indians were firing on them. They wouldn't let them land, and they finally came down the coast until they ended up in Plymouth, which is right over here. At that time, it was known as Patuxent Village. What you call Plymouth today was known as Patuxent Village. The whole Patuxent tribe had been wiped out by the plague, 1616 to 1619. The reason why the Norsets were firing on the Pilgrims was they landed because they had been doing trade with the Europeans for years before the English came here. And they had taken them captive under the guise of trade, took them to Europe, and this is where Squanto learned how to speak English. And he came back, he got his freedom, he came back to this country. But the person that treated the Pilgrims here was not Squanto. It was a Abenaki Sagamore by the name of Samoset. And he came from further north in Massachusetts. It's Maine today. It was part of the Abenaki Nation, but there was no Maine at that time. It was part of Massachusetts. And he's the one that actually greeted the Pilgrims with "Welcome, Englishmen." And then he told them, I know someone that speaks this language even better than I do. And he went back and he got the Squanto, and Squanto came and he interpreted for the Massasoit. He came with the Massasoit, so forth and so on. But they were not the first ones to come to these shores. The first recorded expedition to shores within the Pokanoket realm was by a Portuguese captain named Miguel Territorial in 1502. And then in 1524, not Miguel. I can't even think of the name of the bridge. You have to forgive me. I've had a bad week. That was my brother that just passed away. And we were doing a morning fire for 3 days. Huh? Yeah, Ferrazzano, thank you. Giovanni Ferrazzano came to these shores in 1524, and he wrote in his captain's log. He was observing the inhabitants on the shore there, and they were always raising their hands to the Creator and praising the Creator and thanking him for what he had done for them. And he wrote back to the king, and he said, "These are the goodliest people I've ever seen." I never heard of the word goodliest, but that's the word that he used. At that time, they spoke a little different language. That was the King's English, I guess. And so that is the reason why we open all of our ceremonies with prayer, and we sing that Tabatni Wucha, which is a song written by my cousin, who was an Ottaway Indian. And we have many different members of the Massasoit family, different lines in our tribe. I have five chiefs. One is from Nova Scotia. Harry Hawker is from Anawan's line. Anawan was the head Painisi warrior for the Massasoit, and he was also the head Painisi warrior, which is a general. He was over all the warriors. He was the head Painisi warrior for King Philip during the King Philip War. He was actually King Philip's uncle because he was married to the Massasoit's sister. And they have people from Quanaquina's line. They're from Anawan. She's from Quanaquina's line. She's from Philip's line. I'm from Philip's line and Anawan's line. My mother's from Philip's line, or the Massasoit line, King Philip, and my father's from Anawan's line. So they married. Right? That would be the same. But where was I?
Well, you know what? While you gather your thoughts, I'm going to cut in and tell a story.
Okay.
Because I am the tribal storyteller, and I can tell stories all day long. But he said our hands were always raised to the Creator, thank the Creator. And many, many moons ago, the Creator saw that my people's hands were always thanking. No matter what our circumstances were, we thanked the Creator for what we had. And so the Creator looked down and said, I'm going to give a gift to the Pokanoket people. because they are a thankful people. So he sent 3 messengers to my people bearing gifts. And they came and they gave these gifts to my people and they told them, plant them and they will grow, they will multiply, and I want you to share them. And so my people, we did just that. We planted them and they grew and they multiplied and we shared. And so the 3 messengers saw that we did what we were told. And so it was time for them to leave. And so what they did is they walked my people down to the seashore. And some of our people did not believe that the messengers were sent by the Creator, and they just wanted a sign. And so the 3 messengers did. When they walked in the water, they gave our people a sign. They turned and they waved goodbye to our people, and they turned to stone. And if you go today down to the shoreline of Patumtuck, which is the lookout of Pokanoket, it is in Soams, the Pokanoket our tribal land. And if you go there, those 3 stones still sit in the water today. And the gifts that they brought to my people were corn, beans, and squash. We call them the 3 sisters. So now maybe you want to talk about the Massasoit and Soams.
And Soams, okay, we'll do that. We're going to talk about the land, though, first. When the English came here, how many of you heard of Pokanoket? The name Pokanoket. You ever heard the name Pokanoket? No? All right. When the English come here, this whole territory that you're living on was known as Pokanoket country or King Philip country later. The maps, anything prior to the King Philip War, you look at the index and it'll say right on it. This is the John Sellers map, who was map maker to the King of England, and it says right in the index here, Pokanoket country. The Massasoit letter, and over here later it says King Philip country, because this was done in 1675. So this is the King's map maker. They call it the Sellers map. Any map, like I said, prior to the King Philip War, the land all the way down to Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard Island, Elizabeth Island, all the way up to New York State, Scotticook Falls, this side of the Hudson River, southern Vermont and southern New Hampshire were known as Pokanoket country. Any map prior to the King Philip War says it right on there. The Smithsonian map of North American Indian, Handbook of North American Indian, I think it's volume 15, same thing. All of those maps. You heard of Wampanoag. You've heard of Wampanoag, right? Wampanoags? Wampanoag is a nation. It's not a tribe. That's why you'll hear the Mashpee Wampanoag. You'll hear the Pocasset Wampanoag. You'll hear they use Wampanoag. During the King Philip War, the colonial government outlawed the word Pokanoket, and if you were male 14 years of age or older and you say you were Pokanoket, they'd kill you on sight. That's when they start calling us Wampanoag. And Wampanoag is a term that was reserved for the tribes that fought with King Philip against the colonists. So if you didn't fight against the colonists with King Philip, you're not supposed to be calling yourself Wampanoag. You should be calling yourself Pokanoket, which was the original name of the nation. So I'm just telling you a little bit about the land, the territories, and
why don't we have the drum
we'll
play?
have the drum play.
Take
All
a
right?
break.
But all of that land is all Pokanoket.
You're always welcome to come into the circle to dance. So when you're at a powwow, you wait for an invite. Today, we invite you at all times to come and dance with us. So Sagamore is just going to share a little bit, some more history, and I'll get up and do some more storytelling.
Okay, right. Thank you. I told you about the King Philip War. How many of you know where the Massasoit lived? Anyone have any idea where the Massasoit lived? Where do you think he lived, John? In Plymouth? Mashpee? Quina? Where do you think he lived?
South Shore area.
South.
He lived in Sohams. And Sohams at the time of the Massasoit was Rehoboth, Swansea, Seacon, today Barrington, Warren, Bristol, East Providence. These are all part of Sohams. Today, Sohams, officially the home of the Massasoit, is what they call Barrington, Warren, and Bristol. Actually, John Winslow and Hopkins, when they were the emissaries to the governor of Plymouth colony, the first governor, they came to Warren, Rhode Island, which was actually Bristol. Boundary lines have changed. It was actually Bristol, Rhode Island, and that's where they started talking about the treaty. Then the Massasoit came here to Plymouth to sign the treaty. The Massasoit lived in Solmes, which is Warren, Rhode Island, but at that time was Bristol, Rhode Island. At that time it was actually Bristol, Massachusetts, excuse me. In 1747, it became Massachusetts ceded what is known today as Solmes, Rhode Island, to Rhode Island, which is Barrington, Warren, and Bristol. But in the time of the Massasoit, Solmes was mostly, we were basically a Massachusetts-based tribe.
Is Solon the name of a town in Rhode
No,
Island?
Solmes is where the Pokanoket.
I don't have a map, so
No, Solmes is the whole area where the Pokanoket lived in Solmes. Their nations was all over. The Norset Indian was part of their nation. The Norsets down the Cape here. The Massachusetts were tributary tribes to the Massasoit until 1616 when that plague hit our people. The Massasoit was the man. He was the guy that protected these tribes here from the tribes upstate New York. As a matter of fact, when Uncas was run out of New York, that you heard the last of the Mohegans, that's when the Mohawks ran Uncas out of New York State. He had to get permission from Nanawanha, who was the grand sachem of the Quabog Nipmuc Nation. And that was the Massasoit's father-in-law. He was married to his daughter. That's why when you go to Brookfield, Mass., West Brookfield, North Brookfield, and you read their history, they'll tell you in their history that the Massasoit was the acknowledged head of that nation also. And so when Uncas came into Massachusetts, he got permission from Nanawanha to live in Connecticut. And then years later, he went after Nanawanha to try to make him a tributary tribe. This was in 1660, and Wamsutta was taking care of this part of the nation because his father was already up in Brookfield. He was in his wife's village. That's where he died, up in Brookfield, Massachusetts. His mother told him, "You take care of Uncas, I'll take care of your father," because he was on his deathbed. Uncas went out and he said, if you read the history, it'll tell you that he said that the Nipmuc belonged to me. I fought Uncas over them this past 1667. You're listening to me. You check it out. I have it in here though. Anything I tell you, I can back up with black and white hard copy. All right. And so it was years later when Uncas went after Nanawanha. But Nanawanha was the grand sachem of the Quabog Nipmuc Nation. And so Sagamore, you probably wonder, what is a Sagamore? Well, Sagamore is the grand sachem of the same. I'm the head chief of the nation. All right, I have 5 chiefs under me, like I told you. He's from Anawan's line. She's from Phillips' line, and a few of my other chiefs aren't here today. But I have one up in Nova Scotia because we had dual citizenship. We could cross that Canadian border anytime we wanted until 2011. Basically, the King Philip War. King Philip was killed in Bristol, Rhode Island, at Mount Hope. I don't know if you know where the Heifer-Ruffin Museum is. The Heifer-Ruffin Museum, it's property owned by Brown University. And he was killed there, and he was beheaded there. He quartered his body, and he gave it out to the chiefs that served under him. And of course, they were superstitious people, and they believed that they ate part of his body, they'd be stronger than Philip. All right, and so that's what happened. But they never buried him. He was left there for the elements to take care of his body. So this is one of our sacred places. This is where we hold a lot of our ceremonies. The Walk of Painisi. These two, Painisi, like I said, Anawan was the head Painisi warrior, which is an elite group of warriors that had rituals that they had to go to in order to become a Painisi warrior. We still do that. We still do that up at Mount Hope today. We just leave them up there for 3 days and night. We give them a bottle of water, and they have to fend for themselves. And so we have Painisis even to this day. And like I say, we have the 3 sisters there, corned bean and squash. When they came to our people, that's right there on Seconic Bay there, Mount Hope Bay. I'm sorry. And there we also have the tribute to the Massasoit who was killed in 1676, August 13, 1676. That's a dawn ceremony. At dawn, we go up there and we still celebrate. Those are three of the things: strawberry Thanksgiving, things of this nature here. But Philip, like I said, he was beheaded. His people were taken and put on a reservation in Connecticut. They called it the Setauket Reservation. And once they got all of Philip's relatives out of Bristol, then they took the land. They didn't take the land until they got all of his relatives out of Bristol. That's why they say there's no more Pokanoket. There's no more Pokanoket. But we're still here. We're still alive and well. And Princess Redwing, there's a mural in downtown Providence. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's on the wall. It's called the Indian Princess. She was the last chief before me of this tribe. We had a lot of women chiefs. Matter of fact, for Casa tribe, Weedamoo was Osage of the Casa tribe. She was married to Warm Sutter, who was the Massasoit son, and then Philip, or Metacamac, was married to her sister. So these are two brothers that were married to two sisters. But we did that a lot. Chief's son married the chief's daughter, and that's how we kept control of their territories. And so a lot of even these chiefs that signed that treaty, I think there were 8 signatories of that treaty. One of them was the chief from Nauset, from the Massachusetts basin. He signed that treaty. Quina signed it. That was the Massasoit's brother. Nanawanhat, who was they had many names for him. It was the Old Ancient, with Nanawanhat, and Nashanunu. So I mean, you read the history and it's hard to follow. You know, they changed their name. If you died, they would change their name. Or if he was going to war. Massasoit changed his name when he declared war on the Narragansetts, and I think in 1636, 1632, he changed his name from Wassamecan to Wassamecan. And so these are things that they did. But basically, the history, our land and our territories was very extensive, and there's no denying it. I'm ready. Because you tell me I talk too much. So I'll just give you a little time and break it up. Go ahead.
Wow.
Sit down.
He said so many things, and as the storyteller, everything has a story. Everything reminds me of a story. The way of our people is story. It's an oral history. And so stories have been passed down from generation to generation. So some stories are just for fun. Other stories are to answer questions, keep traditions. But I want to tell a story because I'm looking out and I'm watching the leaves fall down from the trees, and I'm watching the wind blow the leaves around. And I have a story about that, so I want to share that with you. Because you see, one of the things that the children loved to do many, many moons ago, they didn't have television, they didn't have computers. What the little boys and girls had to do, or my little indigenous boys and girls, they had to play with the things of nature. That's what they did. And one of the things that they would love to do is when the leaves would fall from the trees, they would love to chase the leaves and toss them up in the air, and the wind would blow the leaves and they would run and try to catch the leaves. But this one year, when the last leaf fell from the branch, they said, oh, how we wish they would live forever. And so the Creator, to please his little children, said, I will make some of them live forever. And so with the red ones, they became the cardinals, and they started flying around and around, and the yellow ones became the yellow, I'm blanking out too. That was my uncle who passed away.
That was your godfather
I'm so
passing away.
And the brown speckled ones became, the sparrows and the woodland thrush, and they began to fly around and around, and the children were so happy. The children were chasing them and trying to catch them, and they were so happy. But the birds were not so happy, for they did not have a song. You see, everyone needs a song, right? Everyone needs a song in your heart. And the birds didn't have one. But the wise owl, he called everyone to a circle and he said, I know what to do. If you want a song, then you need to fly up towards heaven. And when you can fly no more, you will get your song, and then you can come back down. So all of the birds, oh, they were so excited they were going to get a song. But there were some birds who just didn't want to wait. They couldn't wait their turn. That was the crow. Me first, me first, me first. So all the other birds said, okay, you go, you go. So old crow, he flew on up. He got his song, and he came back down with a caw, 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 caw. Okay. And then there are some people who just can't wait their turn. That was old blue jay. Me next, me next, me next, me next, me next. So, all right, go ahead. So old blue jay flies up, and he comes back down. Chirp, 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 chirp. That's okay. But you know, there were some birds who were patient, and they waited their turn. And that was the meadowlark. The meadowlark waited her turn, and she flew up towards heaven. And when she came back down, oh, she had the prettiest song. It was nice. Too nice for me to even do it. But she had a beautiful song. And the woodland thrush said, oh my, that song is so beautiful. How I wish I could have a song as lovely as she. But I'm such a small bird. I can't fly that high. Oh, but I have an idea. I'm going to get next to the eagle, and I'm going to climb on his back. I'm going to hold on to his feathers. And when he goes up, I'm going to go with him. And so the eagle soared up towards heaven and got his song. And when the eagle was about to come back down, the meadowlark let go and started flying. And she flew higher and higher and higher. And when she got her song, then she started to come back down. But when she came back down, all of the other birds were sitting in a circle, and it was very late. And all of the other birds, they looked at her, and she looked at them, and she put her head down because she knew she cheated. So she walked away from the circle. And to this day, if you want to hear the most heavenly, the most beautiful song of them all, it is that of the woodland thrush. But if you want to hear it, you have to be quiet. You have to walk far, far deep into the forest. And if you listen, you will hear her song. So that's how the birds got their song. So there's another story that I like, because after the leaves fall, right, the frost is going to start coming in. It's going to get cold. And that reminds me about the story of the bear. Because you see, the bear used to have this long, beautiful tail. And we all know that bears, they hibernate in the winter time, right? But this one bear woke up during the winter, and he was hungry. He went walking out of his cave, and he saw Mr. Fox over there. Mr. Fox had him a big string of fish. And he went over to Mr. Fox and he said, hey, I'm hungry. Can you share your fish with me? And Mr. Fox said, no. You want some fish? You go get it for yourself. And Mr. Bear said, well, I don't know how to get fish. I'm usually sleeping in the winter. So Mr. Fox said, you see that pond over there? That's where I got my fish. You want some? You gotta go over to the pond. You gotta get your tail, you gotta stick it down in the hole, and you gotta sit there. But if you want a whole bunch of fish like me, you gotta sit for a long time. You have to sit until you feel a tingle here, a tingle there, a tingle all around your tail. And Mr. Bear went, I'm gonna have me a good meal. He went over to the pond, found the hole, sat down, stuck his tail there, and he waited until he felt a tingle here, tingle there, tingle all around his tail. I caught me a whole bunch of fish. So he went to get up, but there's a problem. It had been an awfully cold day, and the water froze all around his tail. And so he pulled, and he pulled, and he finally broke free. But down in the ice was his tail, along with all those fish. And ever since that day, the bear has had that short, stubby tail. Oh, Mr. Fox, the trickster. Those are some fun stories. But I know, you guys want to do another song? All right, hey, I'll let them do another song. I'm sorry. I'm the storyteller, and I tell stories. That's what I do. All right, you guys go ahead, do another song.
This guy's 87 years old. He's 86 years old. And I'm in my 80th year. So I just want you to know, we've been around a little bit. And I'm going to have Mr. Harry Hawk, he's going to come up and talk about his great-grandfather, 10 generations, and Anawan.
Anawan.
They're from Anawan's line. He's the chief from Anawan.
This is my brother Braveheart. He's 87. He's a Korean vet.
Can I play what?
He fought in Korea. And we come off Anawan. He was a Panisi war chief to the Massasoit, who's Semiquin, Yellowfeather. When he was fighting against the settlers to save the land, he was heard to cry out in battle, "Ayutash! Ayutash! Stand firm and fight! Ayutash!" That was his war cry. And I say that to my family every time I leave them and they're going away from me. I say to them, "Ayutash!" And they'll say to me, "Ayutash." Don't ever give up. And I'm giving that back to you folks here today. Ayutash! Ayutash! A lot of times we get asked, how do you get your native names? Well, I got my native name playing basketball for University of Rhode Island and East Providence High School. I had a hawk eye. They start calling me Harry Hawk Edmonds. In my language, it's Kwanunin, which means hawk in the Algonquin language. Braveheart, being a Korean vet, his aorta, he was failing on him, and he had it implanted with a cow's valve.
Woo!
So he honors the cow. He honors the cow. And it's Kanepe Wata is in the language of my people. Braveheart. And he is a brave warrior. He's 87, and we're a couple old bucks trying to keep our culture alive and well. So I say to you guys once again, Ayutash!
I just want to share with you guys the Algonquin water song. As we said, What you do to Mother Earth, you do to yourself. Water is life. Water is important. We all start from water in our mother's womb. We're birthed from water. So water is life, and we have to take care of our water, and our water is in danger. And you know, when you hear of water somewhere else not being you know, protected, when you hear of water being polluted somewhere and you say, well, that's over there, it's not over there because the water's connected. Okay, so we have to take care of our waterways. It's very important. So we use the water, right? The water flows back through the streams into the ocean. It goes back up to the sky. Do you want to sing it? Nibi wabo and Diane, Aki Misqui, Nibi wabo, heya, 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 hey, heya, 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 ho, heya, ho. Do it with me. Nibi wabo and Diane, heya, ho, heya, ho, heya, ho. Care about water. But you had mentioned the strawberry Thanksgiving, and I just want to share something with you. What is this? What is this? Is it a turtle? Or is it my pocketbook? Ah, it's a turtle, and we all know that the turtle holds the earth on its back, right? You guys are learning a lot today. But what I also want you to know is that we use the turtle as our calendar. This is how we knew how time passed. So if you count the squares around the turtle's back, each tiny square stands for a day. And when you count up all the days, they create a moon, or what you call a month. Then it takes 13 moons, and there are 13 big squares on the turtle's back. It takes 13 moons to create a great sunup, or a year. So this is how we pass time. Now the Creator helps us to pass time because the leaves fall down, the frost comes, the thaw comes, the fawn are born. So nature tells time for you as well, right? We don't need clocks. So clocks make us stressed out, right? We don't need clocks. Y'all need to be on Indian time. So right here, each moon has a Thanksgiving. We have a Thanksgiving every moon, right? Yeah, I know you're jealous. You guys just have one, but we have 13, right? We still now in this day we don't celebrate all of them, but we still celebrate, you know, several of them, of our Thanksgivings. And there's stories, of course, for every moon. January is my favorite moon because that's the moon of the storyteller, because that's when the nights are long and we would just all gather, you know, in our long houses, and to pass time, the storyteller would just tell stories and stories and stories. So January is my month. The month of the long moon, the storytelling moon. But what I want to share with you is that he talked about the strawberry Thanksgiving. And the strawberry Thanksgiving is one of my favorites because the strawberry Thanksgiving is the moon of friendship. It's a time when you forgive someone for anything that they've done to you. At the strawberry moon, you forgive them and everyone gets a clean slate, right? So we call the strawberry the heart fruit, right? Strawberry is shaped like a heart. So it's the heart fruit. But many, many moons ago, there was a brother and a sister, a boy and a girl. Hey, are you two brothers and sisters? Are you a brother and sister? Oh, whoa, you got to listen to this story. Because many, many moons ago, there was a brother and a sister. They lived with their grandmother. And because of that, they were very close. They did everything together. They played together. They worked together. They prayed together. But one day, they got very angry at each other. And they got so mad with each other that they turned their backs one towards the other. And the little boy walked off to the east with the sun at his face, and the little girl walked off towards the west with the sun at her back. And by, the little boy, he felt sorry that he had quarreled with his sister. And he asked the Creator to turn him around so that he may find his way back to his sister. And his sister, well, she felt the same thing. And she asked the Creator to turn her around. But she asked for one more thing. She asked that the Creator would provide for her a gift, something to give to her brother as a sign of friendship. And so the Creator did. And when she turned around and when she looked down in the grass and straw, there were all these red berries, strawberries.
Yeah.
And so she picked them up and she gathered as many as she could, and she kept walking. And by, she made her way to her brother. And when she saw her brother, she gave the strawberry to him as a sign of peace and friendship. And so from that day, ever since, we have our Strawberry Thanksgiving. It's a time of peace. It's a time of friendship. I want to tell you guys something about the strawberry. When you eat your strawberry, you too, you must forgive anyone for anything they've ever done to you. And if you do this, then you will never choke on a strawberry. Okay? If someone's choking on a strawberry, you need to tell them, it's time to forgive, let it go. It's time to forgive. So, he mentioned the Strawberry Thanksgiving, and I just wanted to share that. So, yeah.
So what is the sign of the Strawberry Thanksgiving season? Like,
It'd be June. It would be equivalent to June.
June,
Yeah,
yeah,
that would
June.
be the strawberry moon.
Yep.
Yep. So did we want to do a couple more songs?
do a couple more songs,
a couple more
and-
songs, and
and
then
then
the drum can close out, and we can talk about some stuff we have.
Hey,